Also, my apologies to the listeners out there. I am munching on dark chocolate covered almonds.
Oh,
And I would totally stop for a podcast.
right.
It's probably a
Yeah.
professional thing to do.
Yeah. Yep.
But they're really addicting.
Right. Well, that'll be some good audio. Oh.
So
Yep. Yeah. That's good.
Tasty.
That's real good. Welcome to the Good Games Podcast. My name is James.
And I'm Leo.
Welcome. You did it. You clicked on the video and now it's playing, or the audio file, and now you can hear our voices.
Hello.
Today we're going to be talking about The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, which is a classic Nintendo 64 game. And later in the show, we're going to be talking about our top 5 favorite Nintendo 64 games.
Is it still Legend of Zelda?
Yeah, what? Yeah.
It's Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask?
The Legend of Zelda Majora's. Yeah.
That's a silly name, right? Because, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Zelda's not really a prominent figure of this game.
Well, Zelda's not even in this game, save for one flashback.
Right. I mean, that was my point. So,
yeah.
It's kind of silly. They should have just called it, Majora's Mask. Or, I don't know, Legend of Link. Or, I don't know. That's my first point.
So, this is another Zelda game. We covered Skyward Sword. We covered Breath of the Wild on our very first episode. This is a... I guess more traditional Zelda game, but also it's totally not a traditional Zelda game. The premise of Majora's Mask is that there are 3 days before the world is destroyed. So you have just 3 days to stop the moon from crashing into the Earth. That's why the Earth is going to be destroyed. The moon is falling into the Earth.
Very ugly.
Yeah, you got to stop the moon and save the world of Termina. And it's also an interesting game in that it's positioned as a direct sequel to Ocarina of Time, which is interesting in that none of the other Zelda games are direct sequels to any other game. Like, sure, some of the games like obliquely reference previous games in the series. Like there'll be a little wink and nod sort of thing. But this is like a direct sequel. This is the same
supposedly.
Link. Right. Oh, no. Not supposedly or allegedly. This is explicitly a sequel.
Yeah.
Because the opening cutscene, it says it references the end of Ocarina of Time. Link he saved Hyrule, whatever, and now he's on a journey and he's looking for his missing friend, which is Navi. He's looking for Navi the fairy, who kind of flies away at the end in the ending cutscene of Ocarina of Time.
Poor Navi.
So Link, Link's out on this quest to find Navi. And ends up in this weird world of Termina. And it's weird in that this is a sequel to Ocarina of Time. This is the only Zelda game that is a direct sequel to another Zelda game.
Right.
But it feels so aesthetically different than... the world of Termina is very weird and creepy and kind of dark and death obsessed.
One way I've seen it referenced is a parallel world to Hyrule.
Yeah,
it's a parallel. It's similar, but opposite, weird.
I was kind of gonna ask for your reading of that, because this is the opening cutscene sets it up this is explicitly the same Link.
Right.
As in the previous
true.
Ocarina of Time, and it explicitly references the ending of the last game.
Right.
But the world feels so different. What do you think? Is this some sort of dream world, parallel universe, nightmare, hallucination? What is, or is this definitely Link just wandered into a new world? What is your reading of the themes of Majora's Mask?
Well, the way I see it is it is the same Link. but it's kind of like Alice in Wonderland because
definitely.
He goes into the woods looking for Navi, and then runs into Skull Kid, right? And then ends up falling off Epona and into does he fall into a hole? I think he falls. No.
So he kind of gets mugged.
Mugged, right? Well, that whole intro to me is kind of like the Alice in Wonderland entry into the whole. So it's kind of the same question. Did Alice in Wonderland really fall into that whole world? Did it really happen? Or was she just high on mushrooms and woke up on the same tree?
Right. No, that's what it is. Because Link gets mugged at the beginning of the game, but then he chases the Skull Kid into the trunk of this tree and then falls forever. And there's a weird, trippy 2001: A Space Odyssey lights going everywhere sequence when he falls in, and then things get really weird after that when you enter the land of Termina.
Right.
I like that reading though. Yeah, it's definitely. It's definitely Ocarina of Time went down the rabbit hole. Definitely.
Yeah. The working title was Legend of Zelda in Link in Wonderland. I think that's what it was.
Probably.
Yeah.
I just love. This might be one of my favorite just from an art direction and style and themes and aesthetic. This is one of my favorite takes on Zelda. I love the just dark and creepy and foreboding mood that permeates through all of that permeates through all of Majora's Mask.
The most unique Zelda, which is funny because it's a sequel, but it is. It just feels very unique.
No, this game is super crazy ambitious for Okay, two things. One, the development cycle for this game was absurdly fast. This game got turned around in a year. They wanted I guess anyway, from what I've read, Eiji Aonuma pitched doing a series of new dungeons for Ocarina of Time, and then that turned into no, let's not do new dungeons for Ocarina of Time, let's just do new dungeons, and then that got turned into let's just make a whole game, but we have to do it in less than a year. Go. So a lot of the assets and the game engine and everything is recycled from Ocarina of Time, which I would assume is how they got this game done in a year, just reusing the same assets. Right. But the game is aside from reusing all these assets, the game is crazy ambitious. There's this big twist on the Ocarina of Time, on the Zelda formula, which is also Ocarina of Time was such a huge mega hit. I can't believe this game was so strayed so far from that. You would think with a crazy big mega hit, you'd want to stay safe and do something, No,
they tried new things with it.
You would think to follow up a crazy mega hit, you want to do something safe and familiar. No. This is not that. This is super different.
Yeah.
So we just talked about the themes and how dark and foreboding it is. But the main the gameplay hook is that the world is going to be destroyed in 3 days, and
I like this hook a lot.
Yeah. So at the beginning, we referenced Link gets mugged. He gets his ocarina stolen, the Ocarina of Time from Ocarina of Time, the previous game.
Right.
And if there's kind of a prologue tutorial. The first cycle of the first 3 days is kind of a pseudo tutorial where you've been transformed into a different creature. You're a Deku scrub and you have no items and whatever. And the first part is just trying to get back the Ocarina of Time. And once you get it back, you gain the ability to rewind time. So you go back to the beginning of the first day. And then you get another 3 days to try to progress in the game. But when you reset time, all of your items, your rupees, your bombs, your arrows, those are all lost, but you retain all of your key items, right? So your hook shots, your bow and arrow, whatever the other key. Yeah. There isn't a boomerang in this game, but whatever. You retain all your key items, but everything else is reset, including any progress you had on side quests, main quests. It's all reset, and you go back to day one. And it's awesome. I love this. I love this. This premise that
super cool.
you can keep rewinding Time. It's basically like playing a video game of Groundhog Day.
Yeah, it's Groundhog Day. That was the other working title. It was Legend of Zelda Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day down the rabbit hole. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Because like even the NPC, okay, so like the NPCs in Ocarina of Time and any other Zelda game just kind of either stood in one place and did the same thing, whatever. Ocarina of Time did have a day-night cycle, so like during the night, sometimes NPCs would go to bed or whatever, but that was it. In Majora's Mask, they have slightly more complicated routines. Some of the characters will like move around from day to day, and they'll like do a whole routine. Like they'll go to the whatever, they'll go talk to somebody, and then go to the bar, and then go to their house, and then go to the store, whatever. But they do that same routine consistently, day after day after day. Right? It's just like Groundhog Day, and a lot of the side quests are like tangled in with the 3-day cycle. So the game actually gives you, they call it the Bomber's Notebook. You get this notebook that keeps track of a bunch of different side quests. So you can like keep track of where any given NPC is, because there's a fair amount of side quests. So you can keep track of where any NPC is during any given point in the day. And certain events will always occur in a certain order. But kind of like Groundhog Day, where like Bill Murray he was like the catalyst, right? He could change small things, and like certain things would happen just a little bit differently if he interfered in just the right way, right? Link is similarly the catalyst in Majora's Mask, so he can change the outcome of certain events or whatever. But as soon as you rewind time, it all goes back and plays out the exact same way. Yeah, God, I love I wish more. I can't believe more games haven't like copied this, like the whole rewinding time, and it happens the exact. I mean, Prince of Persia has the rewind time thing, but they use it completely differently. Like nothing else is like this.
Yeah, no one's like rewinding time or something like that. Like literally,
yeah. No, nobody else has copied this, and I think this is a really interesting and smart take on the Zelda formula, because the formula of Zelda has always been your progress is your progress is always measured by your key items, right? Your ability to progress in the game. Like there's these lock and key puzzles, and the locks.
Hearts. I mean, your hearts too.
The hearts, kind of, but you can beat the game without ever picking up a heart container or a heart piece. But I mean, your progress is measured by your key items, in that like you cannot enter the forest temple without the bow. You cannot complete the water temple without the hook shot, whatever. That's what I mean. Your progress is always measured by key items. So like, what a smart way to say, okay, in Majora's Mask, when you rewind time, the only thing you retain, you're not going to retain your progress. You're not going to retain all your like consumable items. The only thing you retain is the key items, which are your only measure of progress. Like, I don't know, I was impressed. That's a really smart way to do the Zelda formula.
Now, we haven't really talked about like why it's called the Majora's Mask.
Oh no, yeah, that's true. So
I would say those are some of those key items we talked about, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. So the masks. Okay, this game has a whole thing with masks going on. You collect masks, which kind of fits in really well with whatever creepy. Yeah, because I mean, masks in general have always just been creepy to me. Like, I don't know, as soon as you hide somebody's face, it's weird when you can't tell what's going on behind the mask, right? And this game is all about masks. So there are 3 masks that are like magical transforming masks. When Link puts them on, he can change his form. He can become a Deku Scrub, he can become a Goron, and he can become a Zora. But there's also 20-something other masks, not just the transforming masks, but there's other masks that
abilities or
they range in usefulness. Some are like very useful, like the Rabbit's Hood can speed up Link's run speed. The Great Fairy Mask can help Link find some of the like hidden items in the dungeon. And then there's more contrived masks, like for instance the Giant's Mask can only be used in one boss room against one specific boss, and it's how you beat one specific boss in the game. So, I mean,
Yeah.
some of them are just kind of contrived to fit the gameplay exactly as the designers wanted, and some have more like multi-purpose, more more all-around usefulness. But yeah, throughout the game, you're collecting all these different masks. But the one mask you can't collect is Majora's Mask. It is I think the opening cutscene establishes that it's this all-powerful, dark, super evil mask that
The one mask to rule them all.
Yeah, the one mask to rule them all. Once the owner or once the possessor of the mask puts it on, you're possessed by this dark spirit or whatever. And that's what happens to Skull Kid from Ocarina of Time. He puts on Majora's Mask, and then he's possessed by this evil spirit, and then the evil spirit is trying to destroy the world by dragging the moon down into the earth. But yeah, even the just like Majora's Mask is fantastical in a way that Ocarina of Time is not. Like, I know it's a big fantasy universe, right? But there's like all of these like reality bending weird things, like just the whole premise of like there's this evil mask that is dragging the moon into the earth. Like, that is something that would not have fit in the universe established in Ocarina of Time, right? Like there's all these fantastical, like, so I'm thinking of like the final dungeon of the game. You like flip the earth upside down and up and down. Up is down. Like, there's all these crazy, and it never feels out of left field. It's like, oh yeah, this is a crazy Alice in Wonderland universe. Like, anything flies here. Like, like, I mean, there's some weird stuff in like, ooh, like we made a corridor twisty in the Forest Temple in Ocarina of Time. Like, oh, like you're fighting this dark shadow of yourself in the Water Temple. But like, this is like crazy, like,
it went all out.
Yeah, there's I don't know. It just feels, it's trippy and fantastical, and in a way that I really like, and in a way that
in a way Alice in Wonderland is, you know.
Yeah, it's not consistent with any other Zelda game, but it doesn't need to be. Like, it's just perfectly its own thing. It's very good.
It's Zelda on drugs.
Definitely, absolutely, 100%.
Psychedelics.
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda psychedelic experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. I don't really remember. Okay. Well, before I say that, let's talk about the creep factor a little bit. We had our
very creepy
our Halloween special last episode. Mm-hmm. And I think that this would probably be an honorable mention in terms of creep factor. Like, I mean, can I say that one of the creepiest things about this game is I feel like they took advantage of their character models, and like in particular, the one that haunts me the most is the Song
Happy
of Storms
Mask Salesman. Oh, okay.
Oh no, I think
Guru,
it was,
yeah.
Yeah, well, both those characters.
Both of them have this demented, insane expression on their faces sometimes, yeah.
Do you think that they left that in, like, kind of on purpose? Like, they kind of used that to their advantage? Like, it's kind of part of it, you know?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Creepy. Yeah, there's all this weird, like one of the more powerful moments in the game is near the end. You in the area called Icana Canyon, which is just kind of everything's dead there. There's all these just skeletons that are roaming around, and re-deads, which are basically the Zelda version of zombies, and it's just this like death area. And you enter a house, and there's like a little girl who's like freaking out because her dad is turning into a zombie. And it's like this like legitimately horrifying thing because the dad like attacks you, and you're like, oh, like,
yeah, that's pretty sad.
It's like this like half human, half zombie thing, and you're like, oh my god, what is happening? And this like little girl is like freaking out because her dad's a zombie. Like, whoa, like what? Like, what game is this?
That's pretty mature, man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one thing I wanted to say was Ocarina of Time has a special place in my heart. And particularly, I think we've talked about in the past episode about the soundtrack being so important to me and so memorable. I gotta say, Majora's Mask, I don't really recall much of its like impact from like the music and stuff.
Fuck The soundtrack to Majora's Mask is fucking awesome. Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? Clocktown? The Deku Palace. Like, that's so good.
Well, going back to that was in Ocarina of Time.
No, false, wrong.
No, that's not false or wrong. That's totally
yes, it is. Clocked. Nope. I'm
1,000% sure it's in the castle.
You're
area
1,000% wrong.
Or it's in like a store when you walk in or something.
Okay, good luck finding it.
Hold on, where is this? Where is it in Majora's Mask? What part of Majora's
in Mask? Clocktown, the main Clocktown theme plays whenever you're in Clocktown. There's three different versions. The first.
I'm gonna look this up. Clocktown theme in Ocarina of Time
is not there.
Hold on. Well, there's a guy playing the Clocktown theme on an ocarina.
Oh, there you go.
Huh. All right, here we go. Is the Clocktown music in any other Zelda game? Like one of Zelda's... Do you think that there was another version of Ocarina of Time that might have thrown it in there?
No. I don't know what you're thinking of, but it's not the Clocktown theme.
Oh. Someone says if you play the Castle Town theme in Ocarina of Time at the same time, like if you combine it with the Clocktown theme, they're both on the C scale, and one starts on G and the other one ends in C, so they work together perfectly.
Okay, that's I guess there's that. That's yeah.
And maybe that's why, like, because it just works together. So, because that's exactly what I was thinking of was Castle Town when he's walking around the castle area. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. Huh. So that plays on the parallel factor, you know?
Yeah, it does. And on that note, the soundtrack is amazing. I don't know why you couldn't, why you thought the soundtrack was phoned in.
I mean, well, apparently I thought the song I was pretty familiar with was part of Ocarina, not Majora's Mask. So that might be part of it. Is like they just run together in my head maybe too much.
Oh, there you go. I guess. Yeah. But no, the soundtrack. I am gonna go on record that the soundtrack of Majora's Mask is better than the soundtrack to Ocarina of Time.
Wow. Okay.
Which is a little bit of a cheat because Majora's Mask recycles some of the greatest hits of Ocarina of Time, but also it's got the tracks that I brought up before, which are very good.
So you're saying it does borrow a lot from Ocarina of Time, but also includes its own unique hits.
Yeah.
Then that's what makes it your favorite. So my point still rings true that there is a lot of Ocarina recycled stuff in Majora's Mask, though, and that's why I don't really remember.
There is, but not Clocktown.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying in general, I feel like there wasn't enough unique stuff to give it its own thing to me.
Are you shitting me? There are so many unique songs in Majora's Mask. The fucking remix of the Zelda theme in the Hyrule or in the Termina Field. There's the amazing Astral Observatory. The da 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 da. Like, oh, so good.
I like that observatory.
None of that stood out for you? Are you really? Oh god. No. The Pirate's Fortress and the Icona Canyon stuff. I love the Stone Temple Tower. God, it's so good.
Okay, I'm gonna have to give the soundtrack another listen, I guess, and see.
You're gonna have to
if it stirs something in me. I don't know.
I love that. To bring up Clocktown again, the Clocktown theme is subtly different. Each of the 3 days. So like on the first day, it's whatever, kind of the normal version of the theme.
Right.
On the second day, it rains. If you stay in Clocktown, it'll rain the whole day on the second day. Mm-hmm. And the theme is kind of this lazier, just kind of more, I don't want to say relaxed, but sluggish. it's a little more, I don't know, relaxed. It's a more, I guess it is. It's a more relaxed version. Say relaxed, and then I know. It's relaxed. It's a more relaxed version. It's it's a lazy, rainy day. Okay. And then the third day, the moon is coming down. There's like tremors happening all around the town. Whatever.
Hectic.
It's sped up. Like it's almost twice its speed, and it's just going like frantically fast. I love the subtle remixes of the theme there for each day. Very good. I don't know. Anything else for Majora's Mask?
Uh, I don't know. If you haven't played it, go play it.
It's good.
It's really good. It's a good game. Solid 9 out of 10 for me.
A 9 out of 10. What's the last one?
All right, 10 out of 10 then.
There you go. 10 out of 10. Nailed it. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. You want to move on to our top 5 favorite Nintendo 64 games? All right.
Sure. This should be fun. All right. Top 5 Nintendo 64 games. My number 5 is a game that a lot of people might not have played, but
Really?
it introduced me. I mean, I'd have to look at the details to see like the critical response, I guess, on it. But it introduced me to this series of games by Tom Clancy, and since then, I mean, for example, right now the latest Tom Clancy's version of this game, I play a lot. I have like 700 hours in this game, in the current version on the PC. So Tom Clancy is Rainbow Six for Nintendo 64.
Wow.
That game introduced me to the world of Rainbow Six, which there's been many Rainbow Sixes since then. The premise is basically an elite sort of SWAT team, sort of special force, I guess, that take out counter-terrorist groups. I remember 2 things about this game. Well, 3 things. Number 1, the cartridge was black.
Yep.
Which was unique. Because every Nintendo 64 cartridge to that point, except for Zelda, was all like gray. Zelda came in like the gold variant, right? So that looked super cool. I was like, oh, a black cartridge, and I loved wearing black, and I was into punk rock, so I was like, this is awesome. And then number 2, it was a shooting game with no gun visible to you while you played the game. It was just a crosshair, and you just moved it around the screen and shot at people. It was really weird. But I mean, it made sound effects and everything like you were shooting a gun, but it was just almost very primitive. And I forgot what the third thing was. It was in the top of my head. It was the cartridge. There's no guns.
And Tom Clancy made it all by himself. Well, here's let me help you out a little bit. I've never heard of or played this game before. I was not even aware that there was a Rainbow Six on N64. I had to look this up.
It's so good.
This is actually a port of a PC game. This is a port of the Rainbow Six for PC. It's the same one. It was also ported to PlayStation and Mac OS. That's crazy. That's crazy because games didn't get ported across PC, PlayStation, and 64 in this era, because you had to basically redesign it for whatever platform it was going to. So I was not aware. I think that's something that's unique about this game, is that it's ported to a bunch of different platforms.
And that just reminded me of what my number 3 things that I remember was. The cartridge was heavy.
Oh.
It was a freaking heavy cartridge, dude. I don't know how much it weighed, but everything was so back then with cartridges and stuff with the N64, I don't know, I just felt I'm assuming the heavier a cartridge was, like the more stuff was in there.
Yeah.
For storage.
The heavier the better, man. You want a real heavy cartridge.
Dude, that cartridge was heavy. Oh man.
You get that
you put it in your
big heavy cartridge going.
Your pants are falling down. It was insane.
That's a heavy cartridge.
So that's probably because it was originally not designed for Nintendo 64. So
Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. It's a heavy game. It's a very heavy game.
Shooting game. There was lots of cool, you had to be smart. You had to sneak around. There was night vision. It introduced me to the tactical shooter. You gotta understand. Until this point, the most of my first person shooting experience was with kind of like the GoldenEye series, and stuff like that. So this game introduced me to the fact that they make games that are somewhat, they go for like a simulated realism, a tactical strategy. So it's not just run and gun. I sucked at this game for a long time because I was just trying to like run around and shoot people. And no, you had to be smart. You had to send decoys or like distract enemies and send teammates to flank, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, really good tactical shooter for Nintendo 64.
My number 5 game is a rare game called Diddy Kong Racing. Fun fact about this game: it was actually like Animal Kart Racer or something, and like the main character was going to be Timber the Tiger. But at the last second, Shigeru Miyamoto saw it and was like, "Hey, that's not going to sell. Just slap a Nintendo IP on there. We'll slap Diddy Kong on there. That'll make it sell." Okay. So they licensed the character of Diddy Kong and then slapped it on there. And, I guess Shigeru Miyamoto knew something because this game was a pretty good hit. Also, fun fact, this is the first appearance of Banjo the Bear and Conker the Squirrel, who obviously went on in Banjo-Kazooie and then Conker's Bad Fur Day. To be more well-known rare characters.
And Banjo-Kazooie was a great game.
Yeah. This is, I put this on my list instead of Mario Kart 64. Now, I do love me some Mario Kart 64, but I gotta give the edge to Diddy Kong Racing just because of the dearth of single-player content. Oh my god! Like, Mario Kart 64, you can, whatever, race against the CPUs, I guess, if you want to play by yourself, but I mean, that's a game designed to be played with your friends. Yeah. This game had like a whole, like, there was this it was awesome. free roaming open world map that you could explore, and then there was like all these different vehicles. You could you get a car, a hovercraft, an airplane, and then once you got in the airplane, you're like, well, I'm never not doing anything other than the airplane ever. Yep. Because like weirdly in multiplayer, you could choose your vehicle, choose the boat, the car, or the plane. Yeah, just definitely always choose the plane. The plane's awesome. Yeah, I don't know why you would choose anything else. No. I certainly don't know why you would choose the boat. The boat's really hard to control.
And the plane was actually like fun to fly. Like, it wasn't the different controls. I don't remember being that terrible.
No. The hovercraft was. The plane was relatively easy to fly. Yeah. But yeah, there's this big adventure mode that had all of these. A big world to explore and all these activities you could do, and
there was like little like secret like things you had to go find. Like
you had to. There was like all these challenges like hidden in each map. There was a key you could find. You could do all these challenges where you're trying to get first place and collect all these collectibles that are on the track at the same time. And you could also play like the adventure mode with 2-player with a friend. It's got a pretty decent battle mode, maybe not quite as good as Mario Kart 64's battle mode, but the battle mode was decent. I mean, it's just, I think it's just a little bit better of a overall racing game, a better total package than Mario Kart 64. So that is why it's better. That's why it's on my list.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
So that was your number 5, right?
5, yeah.
My number 4, I think I've mentioned on our podcast before, as a strategy game that is a sequel to a Super Nintendo game, and it's called Ogre Battle 64.
I figured this would be your number 1.
Oh, no. I did play a lot of it, but I mean, it's just like one of those things where I always had a difficult time with like tactic style games. So as much as I liked the setting, I was a big fan of the combat, I was a big fan of the music, I just could never beat these games. I don't know if when I was younger, I was just terrible at strategy or something. I don't know. So, I definitely had spent countless hours playing this game and learning about Magnus and his squad of people, and the story was interesting. But I think if I went back and played it now, every Nintendo 64 game, it would probably be the one that I would enjoy a playthrough the most, maybe.
I bet that game is still. I bet that game's still really fun to play.
Yeah. But at the time, it was just something I think I didn't play it as much as some of the other games. So, so as far as memory serves me, I'm going to rate it at number 4.
Nice. My number 4 is a licensed game. It is a Star Wars game made by LucasArts. Remember when LucasArts made video games? God, I do. They were good at
Yeah,
making
fun
video
times.
games. Now they don't make video games anymore, and it's sad.
Aw.
Um, Shadows of the Empire is it's
Yeah,
actually
we talked about that before too.
have we? Did we talk about Shadows of the Empire?
During our Star Wars our second episode, was it Star Wars Galaxy?
Oh yeah. Well, let's talk about it again real
It
quick.
was on my list actually for Star Wars games.
Oh. Yeah, this might not have made my top Star Wars games list, but it'll definitely make my top N64 games list. Shadows of the Empire is this. It's actually a whatever of. They're not canon anymore, but they used to be this short novels about what happened between the events of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It kind of tells you how we got from the end of Empire to the beginning of Jedi. But it follows a character named Dash Rendar, who is 100% just a knockoff Han Solo. 1,000% just a poor man's Han Solo.
This isn't Han Solo. This is Bondolo.
Dash Rendar. Actually, as far as Star Wars names go, Dash Rendar, very good Star Wars name.
Sure.
So you're playing as Dash Rendar, and you start out and you're in the events of the Battle of Hoth, and you do the whole walker takedown with the snow speeders, where you fly around and tie their legs up like you have in a million other Star Wars games. But then the surprising thing is, then it becomes depending on where your camera is positioned, in either a first-person or a third-person shooter.
Oh, third person all the way.
Oh, really? I always played this game first person, except during the platforming stuff. Yep, always played first person. Yeah, and it feels like this game was a little bit informed by Dark Forces, which did make my favorite Star Wars games list. But there are some elements that were probably done better in Dark Forces. Like some of the platforming stuff.
It was terrible.
Doesn't quite work so well in Shadows of the Empire.
The physics or something just are off.
Yeah, and specifically I'm thinking of the I think it's the Gal spaceport level, where it's like all these canyons, and it's the first level where you get a jetpack.
Yep, that's the exact thing that comes to my mind when you talk about platforming.
Yeah, and you get this jetpack, and you're supposed to jetpack from spire to spire in this canyon. But the two problems with this is it's very tedious to look up and down, because you have to it's just difficult because the N64 only had one joystick, so you had to stop your forward momentum and press a button toggle to look up and down to figure out where the next spire was. So that was annoying. And also the draw distance was really low in this game. So there's this weird fog that makes the platforming hard. Anyway, it's still a good game though, as evidenced by it being on my list. Some stuff does not work, like I just mentioned, the platforming stuff, and there's some vehicle sections, specifically where you race there's a swoop bike race through Tatooine that is just god awful. But when this game is not trying to be a platformer and not trying to be a whatever weird vehicle racer, this is where the game really shines, because it's a lot of the really smart level design that's on display in the Dark Forces games. Really good level design that really requires you to understand how the levels are laid out in order to progress. Really good enemy placement, really good. The levels are very well designed overall, I would say, and that's probably one of the strengths of Shadows of the Empire, a good Nintendo 64 game.
A great choice, great choice. While we're on the topic of the Nintendo 64 controller, boy, that thing did not age well.
No, that thing sucks. Well, it sucked. It sucked at the time.
Yeah,
I didn't know how to. Yeah, no, that thing was terrible. I never knew how to hold that thing, because there's three places. There's three little goobs where you can grab
Goobs.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. There's three goobs, and I realized over time that I was not doing what most other people were doing.
What were you doing?
Because I would take the outermost goobs and grab those, and then like reach my thumb all the way across the controller to tickle the joystick. But what most people do is left hand on the center goob to tickle and then right hand on the outer, and then nobody ever touches the leftmost goob. Like, don't ever touch that one.
You rarely need that, man.
No, I was an outer goob, but like, good thing I have like giant monster ogre hands, because that was the only way I was able to reach across the controller.
As a young kid, you had the monster hands too?
I was in my teens by the time the N64 rolled around.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. Well, see, like, yeah, because I didn't really tickle the joystick. You know, being on the center goob, that joystick was digging into your thumb, like
yeah, those joysticks sucked.
Oh my god, dude,
they're so uncomfortable.
Just the edges would always cut through the silicone wrapping on it.
Yes. You'd always like get the plastic would poke through and slice your hand.
You get thumb blisters from spinning because every game was like spin the joystick, and it wasn't really, it didn't lend itself to spinning the joystick because it was like an octagonal shaped thing that had hard corners. So like, oh god.
The original Mario Party was a terrible transgressor of spin the joystick, and that's how that led to a lot of palm blisters and sliced hands.
That sort of divided the boys from the men in terms of gaming. Like, you know, if you toughed through the Nintendo 64 controller, you became a true gamer. You know,
that controller sucks.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
we're getting way off the rails, but that's why I don't understand the N64 Classic. Like, are you fucking serious? Really? You want to play with that stupid fucking controller again? That thing's gonna suck.
I think people forgot. I think people legitimately don't remember how bad
that controller is. Awful. Games
we remember because we still play, like, you know, we'll all get on there and play some Nintendo 64 Smash or something, and every time you do, you're like, oh god, this controller is terrible. I remember. But a lot of people haven't played for a long time.
Every time I go back and play an N64 game, it's on an emulator because I refuse to use the stupid goddamn controller. That controller's awful. And like, inevitably after the C buttons are terrible, and inevitably after a few years of use, your joystick gets like really loose and like just kind of like flops around.
Terrible.
And there's like this weird like powdery residue that's all. Anyway, that controller's terrible.
I forgot about that.
That controller is awful.
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of people just don't remember that, you know. And so
I guess. Anyway, got some good games as evidenced by us doing this list, but terrible, terrible hardware.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's actually a good point of discussion for my next game. My number 3 is GoldenEye. Which, you know, when it comes to the importance of this game, I think in the history of first-person shooters and multiplayer play, like, and level design for multiplayer and stuff, I think was huge. But good God, it is so not fun to play anymore. Partly because of that, the controls. Like, my Lord, it's impossible to play this game. I don't know how I spent so many hours playing GoldenEye as a kid. But it came around the same time as GoldenEye the movie, with Pierce Brosnan, which was an awesome. And of course, whichever James Bond you grow up with, tends to be like your favorite James Bond. I get that, but I really believe Pierce Brosnan is one of the better James Bonds.
Get out of here! We're going off the rails again. Okay. Pierce Brosnan is he's awful.
Can we at least agree he's better than Daniel Craig?
Yes, I will agree that. We're so far off the rails. Daniel Craig is a terrible James Bond who has starred in my favorite James Bond movie. I love Skyfall so much. That movie that is my favorite Bond movie that stars my least favorite actor playing Bond. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yes. Well, Pierce Brosnan, on the other hand, has been in some of the worst movies.
Okay. Hold on. I'm not saying that the movies were good.
Okay.
Some of those movies were awful. Right. But I think Pierce Brosnan was a really good James Bond.
Sure.
He just fit the part to me. Like, he had the look, the kind of like the, just like that smirk, you know, that just kind of did. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. All right. There's a difference between a good James Bond and a good James Bond movie to me.
Gotcha. All right, I'll get down with that.
So he's one. At the very least, I'll say he was my favorite personally because that's when the movies were coming out as I was a kid.
That's fair. Actually, another fun aside. This movie did not come out with GoldenEye the movie. This game came out like a year after GoldenEye the movie.
Okay, I'm not saying it came out the same month as the movie, but I'm just saying the movie was like relevant at the time. Like
sure.
Yeah. So like maybe I saw GoldenEye. I don't think I saw GoldenEye the movie before I actually played this game, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
A lot of people maybe did, and then they got to play the game, and so like the game had a lot of popularity because of that. And playing, here's the one thing I can say about the game that was really, really good, and I guess probably still is if you can suffer through the controller, was playing through the campaign in the game made you feel like you were in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was, it just there's little like hints and Easter eggs or nods to the film that happened in the game and the scripted scenes in the game and everything. So and that like just kind of level design and stuff just really felt like you were there. So for that reason, campaign was awesome. Then you got your co-op split screen play where you had 4 people playing. It was a lot of fun. Again, at the time, I think the multiplayer probably didn't age that well just because of controls. But
controls are bad.
Great classic game.
Yeah. GoldenEye. My number 3 is a game called GoldenEye. It's a Nintendo 64 game that stars Pierce Brosnan as James Bond. So we obviously share the same number 3. So I'm not going to rehash what you just said. I think a lot of what you said is true. The controls did not age well, but everyone.
The soundtrack was really good too. By the way, I forgot to say that.
Oh sure, yeah. Oh yeah. Grant Kirkhope did some work on that soundtrack, along with I don't want to forget his name. I'll look it up while I talk. Grant Kirkhope, Graham Norgate, and Robin Beanland worked on the soundtrack, and it is a very good soundtrack.
Yeah.
And it's not like what Grant Kirkhope is known for, which is the Banjo-Kazooie stuff. It sounds absolutely nothing like that. But some fun facts about this game. Did you know the multiplayer was basically an afterthought?
Really?
Yeah, they were so I said earlier that the game released a year after the movie. Right. That was an oops because what they wanted the game to come out alongside the movie, but it fell behind schedule and over budget, whatever. It just took longer to make the game than they thought. And originally there wasn't even going to be a multiplayer, which is absurd to think that like this game that revolutionized, because it revolutionized co-op, or well, not co-op, but whatever, multiplayer
shooters. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, revolutionized. Yeah, it was an afterthought. The multiplayer was made by like a team of like 2 dudes just worked on the multiplayer. Yeah,
that's a lot because like there's a lot that goes into like multiplayer programming.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and they were like, I don't know if we can get this in, but I guess we'll try. And like, I don't know, yeah, it worked. Another fun anecdote, and this one's a little more well known. Rare demoed this game for Shigeru Miyamoto, and allegedly, as the story goes, Miyamoto was like appalled by the level of violence in this game, and was like, "Oh man, I don't know, guys. I don't know. This is pretty violent." And they were like, "Well, Mr. Miyamoto, like, what would you do? Like, how should we make this game a little more, palatable, a little more family friendly?" And Miyamoto, bless his heart, as the story goes, said, "Well, here's what should happen. After every mission, James Bond should go and visit his enemies in the hospital and shake all of their hands, and that way." And that way, you show that James Bond is a really nice guy, and none of the people he shot are actually dead.
Yeah.
Wow. There you go. Game industry legend Shigeru Miyamoto, with his delightfully naive view on what GoldenEye should be.
Sure,
I love it.
Disillusion.
I love it.
On that topic of kind of like the violence in that game, I always thought it was weird that the way they handled like blood, on the character models. I remember it was like you would shoot people, and like the different polygons that made up their character models would just kind of like become red.
Yeah, they'd be a little bit more red. Yeah, it looks
So weird.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe what you're talking about, but I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like almost if the texture over all of the over any of the models had like two different Photoshop layers, and then they just did like one was all red and the other was like the character, and then they just did like a Photoshop blend between the two.
Yeah,
like it would just be like a little bit red, but it like looked
in that area.
It looked wrong.
It looked so wrong.
It looked like they had like a sunburn. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to see like a just a complete like a remake or reboot or like remaster. I don't know how which but like just a completely different engine, but someone created the same levels and stuff and same guns and sound effects and music, and just take some of like the next gen's level sort of gore and stuff, you know.
I'm sure that's been done. Actually, I know that's been done. They there was a re-release of GoldenEye. It was just called GoldenEye on the previous console generation, and for whatever Xbox 360, PS3, and the Wii. I think
that's right. Yeah, I don't think I got to play that. I do remember that being released, but I never played it.
Yeah, I played it for like 2 seconds. It seemed fine, but it got panned pretty hard. Yeah, which I think a game that's like just catering to nostalgia that way that's probably what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah,
it's mostly like, you know, just for the nostalgia.
You play it for a few minutes just to remember the good old times, and you're like, all right, I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good pick for 3. Yeah, that's
good pick for 3 yourself.
No, tip of the hat to you, sir. I wonder how similar our top 3 are.
Oh boy,
my number 2
is definitely not my number 2.
Okay. And it is a very popular game to this day.
Oh,
subsequently been many different versions on different Nintendo consoles, and we are expecting to see the next one on December 7th, I guess. Number 2 is Super Smash Brothers.
Very nice.
So, I mean, I think we've hinted at how much we've played Smash.
Yeah.
But we're saving our in-depth conversation for, you know, our talk about the upcoming Smash Brothers sequel. So, so I won't dwell on it too much, but suffice to say, this game has been a major part of my life in general. The game series in general has been a major part of, I think, both our lives. I think it's fair to say. And this is the one that started it all.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this much: playing this game with a Nintendo 64 controller, not that bad.
What? Get out of here! This game sucks with a Nintendo. Oh, this game's awesome, but it sucks with a Nintendo 64 controller.
I mean, I just feel like when it comes to like games, how they've aged, I just feel like this one is. I don't know. I just feel like it sucks, but it's like it's fairly sucks for everyone.
Yeah.
Who's playing it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah,
I gotcha. No, that's a good number 2. Super Smash Brothers did not make my cut, mostly because like Super Smash Brothers 64, I think is fantastic. It obviously laid the groundwork for the rest of the games in the series, but I think there are various iterations of the game. There's various iterations of Smash that have done it better since that I prefer to the original.
Yeah, but none of those were on Nintendo 64.
That's true.
And we are talking about the top 5 Nintendo 64 games.
That's true, but I mean, like...
Okay, so what's your number 2? What is your number 2 then? What?
I just undone myself. I'm exposed. I'm ruined. I did not realize the argument I just made works directly against what my number 2 is. My number 2 is Mario Party 2. And until last month, there was no game in this series that was better than this game. And I'll argue with you if you think otherwise. Super Mario Party came out last month, and it's definitely better than Mario Party 2. So,
I mean,
yeah. So that outdoes my argument.
Right. I mean, these are the top Nintendo 64 games in isolation, right? So
yeah.
You need to
Whatever.
redo your
Knock
whole
off.
list right now. You need to redo your whole
Knock
list.
off Diddy Kong Racing and replace it with Super Smash Brothers.
Okay,
Fine,
sure,
fine, fine,
sure.
fine. Sorry, Diddy Kong Racing, you got cut. Goodbye. No, my number 2 is Mario Party 2. It's the best Mario Party prior to a month ago.
No, I definitely agree with that.
So, the original Mario Party was good, but not great. It did some really awful things, like we referenced earlier, mini games where you spin the controller and ruin both your hand and your controller. Some of the boards in Mario Party 1 were not great. Some of the mini games were hit and miss. Mario Party 2 corrects all of those things. This is just a vast improvement on Mario Party 1. The boards are better. The mini games are more interesting. Mostly, there's some duds in Mario Party 2, but
which mini game had the skateboarding?
That's Mario Party 2.
All right, boom, the better Mario Party for sure.
Yeah,
you're talking about was the best,
where you're like trying to get away from Boo.
Oh wait,
skateboard scamper. You talking about skateboard scamper?
Let me look it up. Hold on, skateboard scamper.
All right, well, you're looking that up. What I really like about Mario Party 2 were the boards. The boards were styled very well. Like you had like there was like a pirate themed board, and like there was a spooky themed board and a whatever. But the nice thing about Mario Party 2 is like the characters would like actually change their costumes and dress up to fit the theme of the board, which I really liked. Like I don't know. Like Wario wearing a pirate hat just made me happy. And yeah, it is definitely my favorite Mario Party prior to Super Mario Party on the Switch, which is fucking amazing. But this is just a great, like, it's an electronic board game. Like, it's just a great multiplayer game when you have your friends over. It's just goofy and fun and ridiculous, and it's just a really good time. I love that it like constantly pivots the dynamics of the game. So like you have the overall board game, right? And it constantly is showing who's in first, second, third, fourth. But after each round of the board game, you play a mini game where like the teams can be different. So you can have like a free for all mini game. You could have like a 2 versus 2 mini game. You could have like a 3 versus 1 mini game. And like maybe in the 2 versus 2 mini game, you're like paired with the guy who's in first place. So like maybe it's like strategically viable for you to throw the game so that the guy in first doesn't get enough coins to buy a star on his next turn. Like I love the like whatever, just ridiculous strategery and bullshit. Yeah, backstabbery and bullshit that's inherent to all of the Mario Party. Well, almost all of the Mario Party games, but especially Mario Party 2, I love all the boards and the theming. It's all about like balancing that backstabbery. That is an important aspect of the games. Mario Party 2 has a good mix of skill, strategy, and luck, which are the 3 elements of a good Mario Party game. Got a good balance of those 3.
Cool. So I'm at number 1. Okay, number 1. Well, people probably would have guessed it. It's the only one I haven't mentioned. It is Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Not Majora's Mask.
Not specifically Majora's Mask. Like, okay, like, I mean, would it be fair to say since they're sequels, I can just kind of put them both at the top?
Okay, no, that's not fair.
No?
They're 2 different games. No.
If I had to pick, if you were like, gun to my head, you can only play one Nintendo 64 Zelda game, choose. I will choose Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time, the one with the inferior soundtrack, huh?
I mean, technically it's basically just missing whatever's in Majora's Mask, so I get that. But, it is, some would say, kind of the bigger game. There's a lot more to it, more open world. It's just, you can get more immersed in that world, whereas Majora's Mask feels a little bit more like you're just kind of tumbling down the rabbit hole and can feel kind of trippy, and I just feel like I wouldn't be able to play that like every day, Majora's Mask is what I would go to play as a break from playing Ocarina of Time repetitively,
Okay.
It's like that. Or maybe like I would beat Ocarina of Time and then play Majora's Mask, because that's kind of how it was designed, right? Majora's Mask is kind of like, so when you go to see like a play or something, or okay, here's a perfect example. Indian Bollywood films, they You
I can't wait to see how you're gonna equate Indian Bollywood films with Majora's
Indian
Mask.
Bollywood films, man, they give you the whole story, okay? And at the end
Uh-huh.
of every Bollywood film, and this they do this in Slumdog Millionaire too, if you've ever seen that, the whole cast comes out and does like a music video, and the things go crazy. There's fire breathing, there's dancing, and people are wearing ridiculous outfits, but it's the same characters and actors that you've been watching this whole movie about for 2 hours that took itself way more seriously. So Majora's Mask is kind of like the after credits fun time after Ocarina of Time was all you actually spent your time at. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's just kind of like the ridiculous sort of after credits dancing going on. It just things got crazy. Like they just kind of they got done with Ocarina of Time and they were like, let's just take the same character models and just kind of have fun with a little game, a little maybe it ends, it repeats. Let's do Groundhog Day. Like it just seems like it's fun, and it's a great game and it stands on its own merit. But when you put them side by side, Ocarina of Time is really the game, and then Majora's Mask is like the spinoff. So for that reason, I choose Ocarina of Time.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I don't know about that logic. My number one is Ocarina of Time. No, I mean as good as Majora's Mask is,
It
and
is
I love
good.
that
Majora's
game
Mask is very, very good. Don't get me wrong. I love the game.
very, very much. Ocarina of Time laid the groundwork for what Majora's Mask could be. Yeah, God, I'd never really played like an open world like adventure game like Ocarina of Time before. Like just the scope of that game. Like, I mean, it seems relatively small today, but like the scope of that game was unimaginably huge the first time I played that as a kid. Just like the first time you go through Hyrule Field and you're like, oh my God, it's so open. Like you can just go wherever. And there's like all these like nooks and crannies with interesting things to find in them. I just loved exploring, and just being in that world was just fun. It was just fun to be in that world.
I mean, I would venture so far as to say that type of game before Ocarina of Time didn't exist.
Yeah, in a lot of ways it didn't. That was like a big groundbreaking. Yeah. I don't. It's hard to poke holes in Ocarina of Time. It is good. The dungeons are good. The soundtrack is good. I was just trolling you with the soundtrack. I love the soundtrack to Ocarina of Time, even though it's largely remixed in Majora's Mask. There's still stuff like the Hyrule Field theme and a lot of the various like city themes and dungeon themes are unique to that game and not recycled in any other, that are very good. I love just like all of the like downtime, like the fishing hole and like the bowling alley and just like all of these just places that felt just fun to go to and waste time. And God, I don't know, it's good.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a very good game.
I'm gonna give another honorable mention this week to Blast Corps.
Oh wow,
almost made my top 5.
Blast Corps, nice.
Blast Corps was a terrible game that I spent way too much time playing. Like that game makes no goddamn sense. That game is so stupid, but it was so addictive.
Yeah,
you just wanted to destroy things and get the money, and it was a terrible game though. But it was good.
Blast Corps.
Honorable mention, Blast Corps.
All right, you got anything to endorse?
Yeah, I got a couple things. Let me pick something. I could endorse these dark chocolate covered almonds. These are delicious.
Tell me about your dark chocolate covered almonds.
No.
Okay.
I'm going to endorse something I've been kind of... Okay, so we've hinted at the fact that I've been playing a lot of Red Dead Redemption 2. And one of the things I did, that game came out October 26th. And the night of October 25th, as we were awaiting the arrival and the release at midnight, since I bought it
Mm-hmm.
digitally, of the game, I was online looking up like what can I watch that's like a Western or
Ooh,
something to
get you
like
in the mood.
get me in the mood, like, and kill the just kind of help me kill some time as I'm like scratching
Mm-hmm.
my veins waiting to get my addiction hit
Mm-hmm.
of Red Dead Redemption 2. So one of the things that was recommended, and I really didn't give it much thought, was an HBO show called Deadwood.
Oh yeah, I've heard that's
uh
good.
yeah, and someone said it was good, and I was like, well, I'm just kind of more looking for like a classic sort of John Wayne sort of thing. And I found a couple old westerns and I wasn't really liking it. And then so I was like, let me try Deadwood. Let me tell you, Deadwood is exactly what I was looking for, and I just didn't give it a shot
Mm.
at first. That show is so good.
Mm.
And it has a lot of I don't know if it's more of a, I guess you would say, like a cult following, like, because
Mm-hmm.
I think they canceled it kind of early in the series, and I'm not too sure. I've only gotten into, I just got into season 2, but I think it was kind of an unexpected sort of like quick sort of cancel, so it wasn't critically received very well. But I think a lot of people I talked to online were big fans of the show, so I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
what happened there. It is very vulgar, and it is very gory, and it's adult. It's an HBO show, so they show it all. But they do a really good
Whoa.
what? Uh,
They show it all?
oh, they show it all. Yes.
Even the belly button?
Fun fact: one of my favorite actors in today's day and age
Yeah.
is Nick Offerman
Okay.
of such favorites as Ron Burgundy.
Yep.
Is it
Nope.
Ron
That's not his name.
Swanson? Ron
There it
Swanson
is.
of
There you
Parks and
go.
Rec.
Yep.
Nick Offerman is a scholar and a gentleman.
Mm.
You see his peen in this.
Gross.
Yeah, it is. They show it all.
Gross.
It is in
I
there.
don't wanna.
No, I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, like this show goes all out, dude. Um, but they also do a good job of like just kind of the speech and the set design and costume design of really capturing kind of that time period. It's kind of like towards the end of the Wild West era as things started becoming
Mm.
more civilized. But it's kind of a traditional, so it's like a camp just outside of a gold um, mining area where people are trying to come over there and get rich. So yeah, I mean it's got your classic tropes in there for the western, so it fits those needs. But they also have a couple of interesting little plot twists and references to some of the struggles that we still face in today's age. But back then, they might have just thought it was like I don't know, like some sort of plague or something instead of your enlarged prostate. You know, this is that's. I mean, this actually happens. Like a guy is obviously struggling with something we clinically know of in today's day and age, that every male of 40 years old has to go get checked. Back then, they're like, oh, you've been stricken by this, thing. And they just, everything is so uncivilized in a way, but they
Mm.
do a very good
Mm-hmm.
job of kind of like communicating that to the viewer. So if you don't, if you find yourself some time that you're not playing Red Dead Redemption 2, which if you own Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm not sure how you have anything else to do, but you can watch a couple episodes of Deadwood to get your fix in of the Westworld.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I am going to endorse a video game.
Ew.
This game is called Factorio. Factorio. Factorio.
Have I played this?
Have you played this? I don't know.
I don't think so.
This is a early access game on Steam. Don't let the early access thing scare you or whatever. This is the most polished and feature complete games. I don't know why they haven't just called it 1.0. Like this is anyway. It is a game. It's sort of like if you made like a game like Minecraft, but it's not really about like building stuff as much as it is like if you made a game like Minecraft, but just made it about like like refining all of the ores and refining all the redstones and making the circuits and like doing all of the like building things to build more things to build better things to build things more faster to build, you know, like that sort of thing.
Sure.
It's like that. Like if you got like really obsessed and tied up with like the farming in Stardew Valley, like just like planning your farm and making sure everything was working like just so, like that's what Factorio is. It's a game where you're mining resources and then you are using those resources to produce machines that mine the resources better so you can produce more resources so that you can produce microchips so that you can produce robots that can make the machines for you so that you can produce
some would call that kind of like progression. Like it's like,
yeah, it's like one of those unfolding games, but like it just keeps going and go. Like you can, like you start like, you know, like a lot of these games start where you start with like wood and stone and then it goes to iron and then it goes to steel and copper, but then it just gets ridiculous. Like you can build like, you can like refine uranium and like make a nuclear power plant and then you're creating, there's actually like there's a whole circuit thing in the game where you can like build circuits, but then you can build like robots that have a whole logistical system such that like you can make a blueprint of how you want your factory to look and then just tell the robots to go gather supplies and make more factories to make more stuff. Like it's a game that's all about like making these big huge factories and like really like fine tuning, like, okay, like I'm not making enough microchips here, like what's the problem? Oh, it's the problem's that I don't have enough plastic. Why am I not producing more plastic? Oh, it's because my like oil pipeline was built inefficiently. Let me just tweak this to make this a little more efficient. And oh wait, now I got to tweak my steel plant to make that a little more efficient. Like it's if any of what I'm describing sounds fun to you at all, then you already know whether or not you're gonna like Factorio. But it's one of those types of games, but it's like the best, most addicting version of that game.
I'm looking at the footage now. It reminds me, even in art style, to like a Sim City sort of a thing.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Yeah, you know? If you like Sim City, if you like city planning, if you like that whole like plan your grid, like plan what you want to build
or whatever.
Yeah, totally optimally. That's what Factorio is. Like, and then like the end goal of Factorio, like the premise of Factorio is that you've like crash landed on this alien planet and you have to survive or whatever. The end goal is to build a rocket ship and leave the planet. Like that's how you beat the game. There is an actual like end goal and you have to like assemble, like research rocket science and leave the planet. It is very good. I've been up way too late, almost every night this week playing Factorio. It is very good.
I might check it out. You know, sometimes I get into the mood to play some of these like sort of city simulator sort of things. You know,
yeah.
I got into like a bit of a crazy phase over the summer where I played like City Skylines, and that's another one.
How is City Skylines?
It's very good. It's very good. I mean, it plays a lot like if SimCity was still a thing in today's day and age. Like,
well, that's why City Skylines exist because the SimCity, what was it, SimCity 5 or SimCity whatever, was like such a failure. SimCity Worlds, or I don't know, whatever the most recent one.
It was like SimCity for the people is what it is. You know, it's like
SimCity for people who wish SimCity was good.
Right. And that's how it plays. It plays for a really like a good SimCity. I played a lot of hours of that. Like I got into a phase where I just wanted to play some simulators sort of things. You can get into these things, man. You can lose time like
the thing that Factorio, you're always working towards a goal, because
which is different. That is a unique sort of
at the very beginning of the game. It's like, okay, your end goal is build a rocket ship, but like along every single step of the way, it tells you the next thing you need to make, and then you're like, okay, I just need to make like plastic now, and then you have to gather the ingredients to do that, and then you make the plastic, and then you unlock the next thing, and you're like, ooh, now I can make this, and then
I love how they really captured in the screenshots I'm seeing just that, like mid '90s sort of SimCity looking graphics. It's
Yeah, yeah,
perfect.
nailed it. Yeah. Factorio.
Factorio. I might check that one out.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that our episode?
That is our Nintendo 64 episode.
The Nintendo 64. It's a system.
With the bad controller.
It's a very bad controller with some good games.
Giving young kids blisters. Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. Ugh.
For years to come.
All right, so for the Good Games podcast, my name is James.
And I'm Leo.
And we will see you next time. Probably we'll see you in the Wild West, maybe, for Red Dead Redemption 2. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, anyway, goodbye.
See ya. Well, it only works because of how much the mask system is so prevalent. Prevalent.
Yep.
Was it?
There you go. You got it.
Prevalent.
Nope. Yep. There it is.
Prevalent.
Yep.
Okay,
Got it.
yeah.
Nailed it.